Welcome back to Brews and Bets. My name's Steve Ricciardi. On Twitter, I'm at SAP Pirate 12. Tyler, how's it going?
It's going good, man. I don't know if you got this email from the Gamble Master. I actually was in season 1 and finished 4th place. I contacted him again trying to get back in it, and I told him to reach out to you also. You interested in taking part in it?
Yeah, I'm in. Gamble Master, I'm in. I figure with all the tape study we're doing, we're putting out this Bellator 206 Mousasi versus MacDonald card. Doing some Bellator, but I'm ready for UFC. I know it's only UFC, but I'm ready to. I put all my picks on Bet MMA Tips, and I don't mind going into Gamble Master again. I went a little bit too heavy. I was actually up in like first, second place, I guess after like 3 or 4 events last quarter, and then blew most of my bankroll, I guess, on a couple bets that I was just trying to double up on a weekend, and it didn't work out. So I guess I got to play more conservative.
Yeah, when you're out in Vegas next week, manage your bankroll a little bit better.
You know what? I'm really trying to just enjoy the food, enjoy the pool, use it as a little vacation. I know it's your birthday coming up. My birthday's coming up in November, so I'm looking to enjoy this and enjoy the UFC. So I'm trying to really stay out of the casino as best I can.
No, I hear you on that. But if you guys want to check out the Gamble Master, at the Gamble Master on Twitter, I think it's a $50 sign up for this quarter, and the season starts with the Conor fight on October 6th. So contact him, get in now.
Yeah, and we'll tweet that out when we tweet out the show. Maybe we'll put it in the show tweet. I wanted to ask you something. I know you have you went through some classes, right, for refereeing MMA fights.
For judging, I went down south to Valencia to Big John McCarthy's gym and got certified from him. And then I've actually judged about 10 amateur fights here in California.
All right, so let me ask you this about refereeing and judging. Yeah. I noticed it because, again, I'm doing my tape study for UFC, and it's starting to just annoy me. So look at a couple of fights. David Tamor versus Nick Lentz. If you go to that fight, David Tamor, I believe it was in the first round. I didn't write down what round it was. There was a really, really bad fence grab. Lentz went in for a takedown. I believe he had a double leg up against the fence. And, again, anybody that knows how Tamor fights, it's not easy to get your hands on him. He's nonstop action. Very good striker, uses all his limbs to really strike, but he doesn't want to go down to the ground. And Nick Lentz had him up over his shoulder. Tamor grabbed the fence. And then another fight. You got Damir Hadzovic, bad fence grab in his fight with Elaine Patrick. Mario Yamasaki actually warned him. And again, Patrick got the takedown anyway. Anybody that's gonna look to play Patrick next week. I mean, you're talking about a guy who could easily get 5, 6, 7 takedowns. He chased the takedown the whole time. But what do you think about fence grabs? Like, I don't know why there's a warning for some of these drastic fence grabs. It changes the whole complexion of the fight.
So for me personally, I think that it's the judges or the referee's discretion. It depends on where the location is that it happened, how deep they are in there. There's a lot of factors. I personally feel that the position should be taken away if they got it on the fence grab. Mm-hmm. I think that it should be a point if it stalls the position at all. If they were going to get a takedown and they stop it from getting the takedown, I think that it should be an automatic point because you're pretty much influencing where the fight is going to take place based off an illegal move. And I personally feel that it should be an automatic point if it's a blatant fence grab that stops a takedown.
Yeah, I mean, these two, again, watch those two fights. Anybody can go to those two fights. They're on UFC Fight Pass. I'm deep into my tape study for UFC 229, and those two fence grabs were just terrible. So it just annoyed me. And again, Nick Lentz wound up losing that fight. I think on one of the scorecards, it was 30-27, 30-27, 29-28 on the third scorecard. If he gets that takedown in the first round, it's possibly a split decision. You never know which way the fight goes. So, in my opinion, it affected the fight. It may also kind of predict where I'm going with that fight. I thought Nick Lenz actually did pretty well in that fight, but
yeah,
let's get into this.
I seen your Twitter. I seen your Twitter feed was pretty active on that fight.
Yeah, man. I think he's a good fighter, and I think he's gonna have the advantage in this fight, especially with the weight discrepancy. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah,
just one man's opinion. So Bellator 206, Mousasi and MacDonald. Again, I haven't had a lot of time to watch tape, so I more or less have like the top 4 fights. But you said you like some of the fights in the undercard, Taz. So who are you looking at on the undercard in this? I think there's like 17 fights. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's 17, but I know that there's a lot. So a lot of the fights on the undercard are local guys, which I live in California. San Jose is about roughly an hour drive from me. And, I have judged a lot of amateur fights, and I frequent the amateur scene here in California. So there's a few fighters that I know that haven't been on the big show, or they've been on the undercard on big shows, and that I feel that they have a real edge. I haven't seen betting lines released for those fights yet, but I kind of wanted to give them to you guys just in case that there is some odds that come out. One of those is Joe Neal. I've actually judged 2 of his fights in Richmond, and he's a beast. On the amateur scene, he was a beast. He's got faced up with some tough guys on his Bellator career so far. He's 6-3, and he's facing a guy, Josh San Diego, who's 7-4. I think that he has a clear advantage. So if you guys see that there's odds for that fight, load up on Joe Neal, because he's a really good fighter, and his record is only 6-3 because he's been matched up with some really tough guys that are above Josh San Diego's level.
Sorry, you're saying he's got a clear advantage. Where is his advantage? On the ground? On the feet,
he's very well rounded. He's a good striker and has good wrestling. When I judged him in the amateurs, he was I think it was Roctagon promotion, and I want to say that he was the champion. He won the championship the first fight that I judged for him, and then he defended it the second one. And he's a talented fighter.
Okay. Did he finish both fights, or?
He won the first fight by decision. It was a clear-cut decision. He dominated. The next fight, he fought. I'm not sure the kid that he fought, but I know it was a former UFC fighter's son, and he knocked him out, and it was pretty impressive.
So who else you got? Who else you got in this undercard here?
So on the undercard, I like him, and then Adam Piccolotti is fighting James Terry. You guys might have seen Piccolotti fight on some of the smaller Bellator shows. He's fighting at a 160-pound catch weight. James Terry's moving down from welterweight to fight at this catch weight. So Terry's a decent kickboxer, but he has really good wrestling. But Piccolotti is a better wrestler. There is a size advantage for Terry, but I don't think that it's going to come up in this fight. And Piccolotti should win, maybe a decision. But if you do see any odds on that fight, Piccolotti's another one. There's no odds out right now, but if they do come out, he's one to keep your eye on.
If you were setting a line on this Piccolotti Terry fight, what is playable? -150, -170? Would you go?
I would say if Piccolotti's anything around -200 or lower, to play him. I think that the line would probably be a little bit closer because of Terry's name value, especially here in the Bay Area. Okay. James Terry's pretty well known. I think he trains at AKA. He's a pretty well known fighter, especially on the local scene back from his Strikeforce days.
All right. Who else you got? Who's our next little inside info here?
Well, so on the undercard, that's really all that I'm targeting. I'm waiting to see if there's any other ones. I'm waiting to see if there's lines that come out for him before dissecting any of the other fights. But those two fighters right there, that they're gonna win. It's just if there's odds gonna be available for it.
Yeah, and I usually print out my stuff from Tapology and then mark up my notes. Obviously for UFC, I mark up my notes on pads, but I wrote it all over here. So I'll bring us right up to what I think is the main card. Ty, Keri Melendez and Dakota Zimmerman. Keri Melendez, I believe, Isn't she married to a UFC fighter?
Yeah, she's actually married to Gilbert Melendez. She trains
She
with
is, okay, I thought it was.
Yeah, she trains with the Scrap Pack, which is Gilbert, Jake, all those guys out here. And she's actually one of the nicer people that I've ever met. She goes to all the local shows, and she has. There's not much information on Dakota Zimmerman available.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, but
yeah, and I think that she had lost 2 amateur fights or 1, and they were both by decision. But from what I can tell, Kerry Melendez is a really good striker.
Kickboxer, legit. I watched her. You know, she's good.
Yeah, I believe she's undefeated in kickboxing, undefeated in MMA, and I think that she's lost 2 Muay Thai fights, and they were both by a very close decision. If this stays standing, which I expect it to do, Melendez is going to pick her apart and maybe finish the fight.
I don't think you can play her unless you play her to finish, because I think, what is the line now? Like I thought it was -800 or something like that.
Yeah, it's something crazy like that. I wouldn't play it, but I mean, I've met Keri. I'm just personally cheering for her. And Dakota Zimmerman, her only path to win pretty much is to take her down, which I don't know enough I don't know enough about her to say if she's a good wrestler.
All right, yeah, I'm actually opening up the odds now because I just wanted to see. I thought it was she's actually Keri Melendez is now -1050. So I'm pretty sure today when I was doing my tape study, she was -800. So that's not even playable at -1050. So if you're gonna play anything, you're gonna have to play the prop there.
Yeah,
they do have one prop out. Let's just see what it is. Fight doesn't go to decision is -260. I have no problem playing that. Maybe you can get Melendez by KO, because if she finishes, it'll be by KO, and if it finishes, I think it's going to be Melendez. I wouldn't mind playing Melendez by KO.
So usually with the Bellator odds, from what I've noticed, is they'll release the main card a few days before the event, and then like usually the night before the event, they release other ones and prop bets. So that's kind of why I gave you guys the undercard, just in case the lines do open. Those ones are worth playing.
Yeah, and if they open at a good price, get them early. Get them right away.
Yeah.
Ty, what do you think? Gaston Bolanos and Cedro Gutierrez. What do you think about this fight? 145.
Bolanos is a really good up and coming fighter. I think he had a strong kickboxing career also. I don't see anything else but him knocking Gutierrez out. And he'll likely do it in the first round. He's pretty aggressive, and he comes with a diverse attack.
So what can we tell? What can we tell people? Because you're saying first round, not for nothing. If you're saying first round, fight doesn't go to decision is -260. That seems way too low for you predicting a first round knockout.
Yeah, I mean, in Bolanos' other fights, and he comes out really aggressive, and he goes for the kill. I don't think Gutierrez is really that good. He's pretty much a decision fighter that tries to grind it out. His only 2 losses came by submission, but I think that Bolanos is so much better of a striker that he has the advantage here, and I think it's a one-sided fight.
Yeah, and from what you were telling me, again, I didn't watch that fight. I did. The only one I watched so far is Keri Melendez, and I really like her kickboxing. Bolanos, I didn't. Yeah, Bolanos, I didn't get to see, but since you like him by KO or him by KO, I may play that. Now, the next fight I have seen. I actually watched him live, so I do remember Aaron Pico and Leandro Higo. Pico's 22 years old. He trains with TJ, I believe, right? TJ Dillashaw.
I believe so.
Yeah, very good. Uses his takedowns. I think that the difference in this fight, although I just read an article on Twitter before about Leandro basically saying, and again, he's a tough guy. He's got a lot of experience, but he's normally a 135 or moving up to 145 for this fight.
Mm-hmm.
From what he said, he says, if you think Pico's, I'm here to just let Pico, run roughshod over me. Like you got to have your head examined. Basically, is what he was saying. Like, he thinks he can win this fight. Personally, I think Pico's going to win it. I don't think it's going to be a quick knockout, though. I think he's going to have to earn this. maybe a late finish, maybe the decision, maybe like something in the third round if he's able to use his takedowns and really use his size advantage over Higo. But that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at Pico, maybe third round or by decision. I'm sorry, Pico, not Higo. Pico.
Yes. So when Pico first started his career, he was one of the highest ranked prospects to ever come in. He has a great wrestling background, Golden Gloves boxer. He got knocked out in his first fight. I think he either got knocked out or knocked down and then submitted, but he got finished pretty quickly. And so it was a big letdown. And I think his odds were minus 1,000 or something for his first fight. So Bellator took a step back with him and gave him lesser competition. This is his first fight that he's stepping up and facing that upper echelon of competition. Now he jumped up from 135 pounds, but at 135 pounds, his last 3 fights were versus Eduardo Dantas, Joe Timangelo, and Darian Caldwell. I haven't talked to you about this yet, but Joe might actually be coming on our show in the near future.
Oh, okay.
I had a conversation with one of the guys that I used to train with, and he's working with Joe right now, and they want to come on and talk about his fight in the next coming weeks. Yeah. So we'll talk more about that off the air. But so Higo's been facing the top 135-pound guys, and now he's jumping up to 145 to fight Pico. This is going to be kind of like a test to see where Pico's at in his career, to see if he's developed on the things that he needs to get to that title level contention. I think Pico's going to do it. He's so well rounded. I think that he has an advantage in this fight, not only with size but with skill. But at minus 500, I can't really see laying that, at least on a straight bet. I might throw him in a parlay, in a low level parlay, just for some action on the fight. But I mean, that's not with money being on my mind. That's just out of fandom.
Yeah, just wanting some action for that fight.
Yeah, that's just for action, not really for profit, because I mean, minus 500 is a crazy line for this level of fight.
And again, they don't have all the props out, but the prop that I kind of like, if they set the line at 1.5, I would love to take the over at 1.5. If they set it at 2.5, I think it's going to finish in the third round. I think Pico can outlast him and finish him in the third round. Or if he goes here for this fight, maybe a sub. Is that possible?
It is, but I would rather either take Pico or pass. I'm probably gonna pass on it. Maybe just throw him in a parlay with a few other fighters. There's one underdog that we'll talk about in a minute that I like on this card.
Yeah, I just looked down and looked at it. We have Andre Koreshkov and Douglas Lima. I'm on Koreshkov, and I know you're on Lima. So why don't you tell me why you're on Lima?
Okay, so the first time, this is actually the third time that Korsakov and Lima have fought in. The first fight, Lima said that he came in injured to the fight. Whether that's a reality or not, nobody really knows. But Korsakov pretty much took him down at will and just smashed him. I believe that 2 judges scored it 50-45, and 1 judge, I think, 49-46. So he dominated the fight. So the next time that Lima faced versus him, I thought that Lima won the first round. Korsakov got the takedown in the second round, won that one. So it was tied up in my mind going into the third, and Lima just flattened him. He showed a killer instinct, really impressive. I think that he's made ground compared to where they were at in their first fight. In his last fight versus Rory stepped away from that fight saying that he was the hardest competition that he's ever faced. And he's even faced Tyron Woodley. And so to me, that says a big statement. And if you can get Lima at plus 125, I think I'm leaning towards taking that bet.
Well, that may have been the toughest competition Rory's fought until this fight.
True.
Because Mousasi is a beast. But all right, and you know what? I'll be honest with you. If you're gonna play this fight, Lima is plus 125 at this point. So if you do like Lima, or fight doesn't go to decision may even be better if you think Lima is going to wind up getting a knockout again. That's actually plus money too. Fight goes to decision is minus 170. Fight doesn't go to decision is plus 130. Again, I think that a lot of that is based on Koreshkov. Everyone thinks he's going to get those takedowns like he did in the first fight. And again, like I had mentioned to you, I thought he won all 5 rounds in that first fight, and I thought he won all the rounds leading up to the takeout, to the knockout in the second fight. So that's just my opinion, but.
Well, I agree. I agree with all those except the first round I gave to Lima in the second fight.
So split there, but again, you could easily change my mind. I haven't seen all their fights. Quinton Jackson and Wanderlei Silva, I think Quinton Jackson just knocks him out. If there's an under here, under 1.5, I think I'd play that. But I really like Quinton Jackson to get a knockout in this first round. Is there any reason to not think that?
No, I'm on Quinton also, and I think actually minus 280 is a really good bet on it. I usually don't like laying that much, but he has such a clear advantage. And both of these guys' last fights was versus Chael Sonnen. Wanderlei Silva looked like he hadn't trained at all. He had no cardio. Rampage actually hurt Sonnen in their fight. Was impressive until Sonnen got the takedowns. I just think at this point in their career, Wanderlei's doing it for money.
He's also the smaller guy here, right? He's usually a 205er.
He's the smaller guy. He's stepping up to heavyweight for this fight. Rampage looked good in his last fight. Wanderlei looked horrible. There's no reason to think that Wanderlei's going to show up in good shape. This might be one I wait to the weigh-ins just to make sure. But I mean, you had no cardio versus Chael Sonnen after 3 minutes in the fight. I mean, you're going to get squashed versus Rampage.
Yes, 100%. By the way, this is on the Zone again. You know that, right?
What's that?
This fight is on the Zone, the main card.
Yeah, I seen that. Do they play the undercard also, or is that on?
I don't know what the undercard is going to be on. I would hope that the whole card is on the Zone, but I know for a fact the main card is definitely on the Zone.
Okay, yeah, and I would actually.
We both watched the boxing match last week.
That's what I was gonna say. If people haven't checked out, is it DAZN or DAZN?
I thought it was DAZN. I've heard who was I listening to? I think it was Ariel Helwani. Basically said DAZN. Again, I went to the lunch party in New York City, so I should know. I actually have a couple of their water bottles and stuff that I walked away with, but they were giving out at the party. I didn't steal it. But
no, that boxing match was a good one.
Yeah, and I thought the production for that was outstanding too. All the way through and everything. So I was real impressed. So I'm looking forward to getting Bellator. I mean, I wouldn't mind if they offered some Bellator DFS. We definitely get some betting on these fights, but some Bellator DFS would be nice in the future too.
Man, in all my talks with all these fantasy sites, even the smaller ones, you don't know how many times I've tried to press for that.
And maybe, again, a huge issue in the past with Bellator was that a lot of their stuff was on tape delay. So I think maybe now that they have, obviously everything coming up on the Zone or DAZN, whatever we call it. I'm going to call it the Zone. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Maybe at this point, maybe we could do something like that. Maybe not 17 fights. Again, what I have listed on Tapology is 17 fights. But they're not numbered. They're not ordered. So I'm not sure if all these fights are going off, as such. But even if you get 12 to 14 of them, put it out a few days before, I think there's money to be made. I think some people will definitely play, and I think that'll help Bellator. The more people are betting on it, the more people are playing DFS on it. I think it's only going to help Bellator. And again, you know how big the DFS community is for DraftKings in the MMA world on Twitter. I think it's an easy sell if they're able to do it and pull it off. My opinion.
Yeah, so I'm actually a huge Bellator fan, probably right in line with the UFC. Scott Coker used to run Strikeforce, which they were based in San Jose, which, like I said, is an hour down the road for me. So we used to go to all the fights. We were VIP at all the fights and everything. And so I'm a huge Bellator guy. And I don't know if you've ever been to a complete Bellator card from start to finish.
No,
the way that it usually works is they'll have 17 fights. They might have 6 or 7 before the main card, and then they'll have 4 or 5 afterwards, which I personally like because it's nonstop action.
Right.
And then after the main event, everybody's scrambling to get out. But if you're a fight fan, you get to stay and watch 3 or 4 more fights before traffic clears out of the parking lot.
Yeah, and you know what? That's how PFL did it. When PFL did their first event at Madison Square Garden, I actually covered that. And the main event was Andre Harrison. Andre Harrison, his fight finished. Everybody started clearing out, and there was actually another heavyweight fight after, and it was actually a real good fight. 2 big guys. There was a finish in that fight too, and we were cage side for it. We didn't have to worry about. We had to do interviews anyway, so we didn't have to worry about getting out of there. But yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, I think the UFC could take some notes from that. I think it's a really interesting way how they do it.
And again, the main event here. So I'm going to set you up for this. Get your take. Gegard Mousasi is 44-6-2, crazy record, and Rory MacDonald is 20-4. Again, Rory's coming up from 170. He usually fights at 170. Gegard is obviously the champ at 185. So this is a super fight. This is the Bellator super fight. Probably, I would assume, is the biggest fight they've ever put on. So Tyler, who do you like here?
So initially, when I was thinking about this fight, I was all in on Mousasi. The bigger guy, more dynamic striking. I think that his style can pick Rory's apart on the feet. Then I was looking a little bit further into it on what kind of guys Mousasi has struggled with in his career, and it's guys that take him down. Rory is a pretty good wrestler. If he can implement a game plan that he's going to take him down and control him on the ground, work some ground and pound, I think that Rory has a path to victory. I just don't know with the size discrepancy and Mousasi's he's kind of sneaky speed. It's not he's not a fast fighter, but he has fast hands. And if Rory can get past that, which I'm not sure if he can, he has a path to victory, but I'm still leaning Mousasi because it's a really off chance that happens for Rory.
I'm leading Mousasi too. I don't like the -270. I just wish I wish the line was closer. I see Rory being able to possibly get the takedown. Now, when you say path to victory, you mean get a takedown in like 2 or 3 of the rounds and win rounds, or you're talking about maybe get a takedown and get a sub?
No, either get a takedown and work his ground and pound, or win some rounds and potentially win a decision.
Yeah, I'm concerned, even if he does get the takedown, that Mousasi, being the bigger guy, is going to be able to get back up. And I think early in the fight, it's going to start in the feet. And I think over those first few minutes, I think we're going to have to see how Rory adjusts to the difference in power and that striking. Getting those power punches from somebody who's, weighing in at 185, but he's probably going to weigh 200 pounds, right? 205. Yeah. And again, from what I've seen, Rory did an interview with Ariel Helwani, and he walks around at like 190. So you're talking about a guy who's going to drop like 5 pounds to get to this fight at 185. Like, Mousasi's going to be the bigger guy. He's going to have him by 10 or 15 pounds. And I just, when you're talking about 2 great strikers and the difference is just the size, those punches hurt a whole lot more when they land. You know what I mean? So unless Rory gets, punching one stop punching power or is able to get him down and get that sub, if it's an accumulation of strikes over 3 rounds, I think that Mousasi just wears him out. And I actually think that Mousasi can get the finish maybe in the 3rd or 4th round. That's my official take. I actually like a lot. Fight doesn't go to decision. -115 as a pick'em. I'm picking Mousasi to basically win the fight inside the distance. And I think if Rory gets him down, if he's able to work his ground and pound like you're saying, or possibly get a sub, this should finish. I don't think it's going to go 5 rounds. So -115, I really like right now.
Well, before you lay any money down, I want you to watch the Mousasi versus King Mo fight.
Okay.
I know it was 8 years ago in Strikeforce, but that's the one thing that stands out in my mind. King Mo was able to get the takedowns, and I know King Mo might be a little bit better wrestler than Rory. I know he's better collegiate wrestler, but as far as MMA wrestler, I think Rory could execute a similar type game plan. I mean, I'm still going with Mousasi, but that's just interesting, and I want to get your take on it when you actually do watch that fight.
Yeah, definitely.
And then one other thing that I made a note of is that Rory's actually getting ready for the tournament fight himself in a few months.
This is true.
So he's either not 100% focused on this fight and looking ahead towards that fight that's where he's going to be defending his belt. I don't know, with another fight already lined up that has a high importance, you're having a super fight now, and I just don't think the timing is ideal for having the best effective strategy.
Yeah, and even building on what you just said, I listened to him on the Ariel Helwani podcast. He talked about his weight. He also talked about that tournament, and basically he's got a title fight now. And his next few fights, every fight in that tournament for him is a title fight. Mm-hmm. So whoever beats him basically takes the title and then keeps carrying it. And eventually that title will get to the championship, and that's what they're all fighting for. So it's basically a tournament for his title.
Yeah. On a side note to that, I really hate the way that Bellator does their tournaments. I'm a fan of the old school style of tournaments where you either have everybody from the tournament fight on one night, and I know it's hard to get sanctioned here to have a complete tournament all on one night. Strikeforce did it one time. They had to adjust the rounds and the time of the rounds, which it was kind of cool. I was actually at the event. It was a fun event. But like the way that Pride used to do it back in Japan is they would have all the guys fight on one card, and then maybe 3 months later have the next round. The way that they did the heavyweight tournament and that they're doing this welterweight Grand Prix, it doesn't make any sense to me, and it's harder to follow because you have 2 guys fighting on this card, 2 guys fighting next month, 2 guys fighting 2 months from now, and it's just really hard to follow. And unless you're really paying attention to it, it's harder to get behind.
Yeah, and Ty, that basically brings us to the end of the card. So we got some things to offer for the Quant Edge. Ty and I are basically doing exclusive content for the Quant Edge. You can follow us at Quant Edge MMA Pod, or you can follow the main site at the Quant Edge. And this Friday, actually tomorrow, so most people hopefully will see this tomorrow. They're actually offering a 1-day $10 sign up, which I believe gets you access to everything, right? The NFL and the MMA package for the month.
Yeah. I think that's the one that's tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I believe that one's tomorrow. So I'll put the information in the YouTube write up, and I'll also tweet it out once I get it. Let me just confirm it. I don't know if you need a code or not. If you want to get a code and you want to sign up for the information that Ty and I are putting out, I'm fully into my UFC study. I'll be leaving on Tuesday night for Vegas, so I'm flying out Tuesday night, which is good because we're not going to be doing the free podcast anymore, which we usually did Tuesday night. So we'll do it later in the week, maybe Wednesday or Thursday, whatever night. We'll work on that. But that's going to be only for paid customers. So you can use Brews as one of the codes. The other code that you have is UFC. You can try both of the codes, see which one gets you in. But because we have 2 different packages. The UFC package is, I believe, $15 for the month, Ty?
Yes, $15 for the month.
Is accurate. And then $30 a month gets you all UFC and NFL stuff for the month. So you have a couple different options. And if you just want to test out, what we're offering, our podcast, I'll have an article and Ty will have an article also going over betting and some DFS picks. Is that basically what you're looking to do with your article?
Yeah, I'm focusing on the top play, my top play for the card based off DFS, my value play for the card, and then I'm giving my bets that I'm personally playing.
Okay, so that's basically what we're offering, and you can get a 1-week trial for $5. It's a one-time 1-week trial. So if you just want to see what we're doing, you can do that. And even last week, I don't know if you noticed this in the chat, because we kind of got into the group chat after the event, but somebody actually messaged asking why we didn't have like the same punt play. Like last week, you were all. We'll talk about who you were all over last week.
Vendramani.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I mean, like I said on the podcast, I liked him based off of GPP play. Low price guy that was going to be low owned, and I thought that his only way to win was by submission. He actually almost got it, and I would have looked like a genius over it, but unfortunately he didn't get it, and your guy won.
No, I mean 100% though. He had the back. I mean he had it locked in. But again, being a smaller guy, I think Zaleski was able to fight him off. But even my guy, the guy that I wrote up, and this is basically where the discrepancy was, that was your punt play. My punt play was Pedersoli. And again, you know, if you watched, he got knocked out in what, 35 seconds or whatever it was. Yeah. But again, it was a punt play. I thought he was going to last longer. He didn't. But again, the reason you play a punt anyway is to open up the higher price fighters. And again, I think I hit for about $400 or $500 last week. Usually I play about $150 to $200, and I was able to get about 4 or 5 times my money. All my cash lineups, I usually play 2 or 3 cash lineups. Just about all of them cashed. You know, made me money. I'm not saying I won every single head-to-head and everything like that, but for the most part, every 50-50 I cashed, and most of my head-to-heads. So I made, and I did pretty good in GPP. So most of my lineups cashed, and again, in 2 of my 3 cash lineups, I had Pedersoli. So playing him and then playing the right combination up top, staying away from Sam Alvey for the most part. I guess that was the one guy you had to stay away from. You know, you would have cashed, but I was all over Bueno. I hit a parlay with her. I hit a 3-way parlay, had her in a ton of lineups. She cashed in the $5 and the $12. It was top 10 in both. So, you know, it's really a matter, in my opinion, Ty, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think if you're on like 1 or 2 solid fighters from the mid-range and the you know, the lower guys or girls, you can really cash every week.
Yeah, and so like I know a lot of the people that I know that play high volume cash games, they'll either stack the main event because it's 5 rounds, or and you're pretty much getting one value play at a premium because he's going to rack up points. He might not win, but you have exposure to 5 rounds rather than 3 with your punt play. And then when I used to play cash, what I would do is I would try to target 5 guys that I thought were going to win. You make a roster of 6. If you can get 5 wins, no matter how much they're going to score, usually that's enough to cash. And you might have to punt 1, whereas if you punt 1 and they get a decent amount of points and you get those 5 wins, you're in the clear. You're making that money.
100%.
Yeah, and I mean personally, I don't really play much cash games. I play GPP, and you mentioned Sam Alvey, and I don't even know if I told you this, but I played the $15 game for the MMA VIP experience. Yep. And if Alvey would have beat Nogueira, I'd be joining you in Vegas.
But, yeah, and I'll be honest with you, I was a little annoyed that I didn't play Little Nog, only because, you know, if you go back to the podcast, and that was basically my breakdown, you know what I mean? A few years ago, who was the last guy that he fought? Now I can't think of his name. Little Nog fought like 2 years ago. Needless to say, the guy took him down, pounded him out. Who's the guy who's Ryan Bader. So Ryan Bader beat Little Nog and basically took him down, but Little Nog was able to piece him up a little bit. I'm not saying really get you know, a big advantage on the feet, but he was able to basically, you know, connect with that left hand, and that left hand is deadly. And again, it's a completely different fight against Sam Alvey, and that's what I pointed out. Like there's no threat of the takedown. And then I don't play Little Nog at all. Like I kind of called it, like he's in this fight. It's kind of a, you know, a crapshoot fight. You just don't know what a 42-year-old's gonna come out with. But he wasn't getting taken down, right?
Yeah, no, he had no threat of the takedown. But what irritated me about that fight, because I pretty much just needed Alvey to win to be in a good place to win that tournament, which it turns out later, if I would have gotten, I think it was 70 points from Alvey, I would have ended up taking it down.
Right.
But Alvey had him hurt in the first round, and I don't think that he realized how much he had him hurt, and he didn't go in for the kill. He let Nogueira get back into it. Second round, Nogueira hurt Alvey, and he put the pressure on him and went in for the attack. And so it caused some hostile times in my house. I was not very happy. But
yeah, and you know what? I wasn't really happy either with myself that I didn't play it at all. I didn't play much GPP. I played the 3 cash lineups, and I guess I played about 5 GPP lineups, and I didn't have little nog on any of them. So take it for what it's worth. But Ty, another Brews and Bets podcast in the books. Next week we got a big card, UFC 229. We have a couple subs already, and we're trying to get some more. So hopefully, some people sign up, take advantage of our content. We're going to be providing some exclusive stuff. I'll be over in Vegas reporting live, and we also have a bottle of proper 12 whiskey we're raffling off.
Yeah, if we get 12 signups to the site before the event, the next podcast we're gonna give one away to one of the new subscribers.
Yep, 12 gets you a bottle, and again, it's every 12. So the first 12 gets you a bottle. The next 12, we get 24, gets you a bottle. The next 12, 36. So every 12 subscribers, we're giving out a bottle. So we'll go from there. All right, Ty. We'll talk next week, and can't wait to get to Vegas.
All right, man. Safe travels.